Not much. Not
We
much
are
at all.
live, man.
Awesome.
All right. One, I do have a gripe with you. Nobody plays Conan anymore.
Yeah, I one of the things that I found was, it's one of those games. Just you really got to put that effort into that end game, and it gets to the point where it's just like, oh shit, well, I've done everything, and you're just sitting around waiting for more content, and I get I get a limited amount of time a week to play video games, which is really weird actually, because like I do hangouts, on the evenings that my wife works, and people can think it's like, oh, that's perfectly good, video game time. Except usually my where the PlayStation 4 is, it's upstairs, and it's too loud, wakes up the kids, and so I avoid. I'll just play stuff on my computer instead. So I don't have that time to sit down and play PlayStation more. I probably haven't logged on to my PlayStation since I went back to work at the beginning of July.
You know what? What I find is after work, I work in a fucking call center. After work, I want to sit down and actually play a game where I can think and build shit. And I think that's the reason why I was into Minecraft so much. But after fucking sitting at a fucking computer desk for like 8 hours, and to come home and think, I'd rather just throw on a podcast and just fucking listen while I bullshit some game.
Yeah,
So
and that's the other thing too, is like the entire time that I was staying home on parental leave, I spent all day with my kids. Like that was it. When they went down for nap time, shoot, that's when I had the time to jump on and play video games. And now it's like, I'm just doing the standard work thing. When I come home, I actually I do enjoy spending time with my family. That's why I only do the bring your own topic hangouts on the nights that my wife works, because when she's home, I mean, she gets all my attention.
I remember having young kids. I only have one, but I remember having young kids, and I remember how that was. Now mine's is 11, and yeah, not you have to refine yourself sometimes. So
Mhm.
let's go to the topic of this video. I'm gonna pull up the video that I was watching, and like I was saying off air before we started to hang up, I was just watching it, and he's actually I love George Carlin. I guess he started the history of people who narrated Thomas the Tank Engine that should not have been narrating Thomas the Tank Engine. So
I like that because it's funny how, like, comedians, they looking for that break, and like it's interesting to see, like, guys, like, it's how Bob Saget ended up on, like, Full House as the dad, you know.
that's what I was thinking. That's exactly what I was thinking. What's another one? Shoot, like Bill Cosby. Bill Cosby was fucking raunchy, and people remember him from the '90s. But he is the reason why he earned the reputation that he did afterwards. Because in the '70s he was crazy. Um, what was another one? Shit, you stole my Bob Saget. It's just like certain people have a dark past, and not a dark past. They just the image and shows that they portrayed later on in their career kind of like is just it's cognitive dissonance with what you see. But I really like the comedians from the '80s and very early '90s. I had so much fun watching shit that I wasn't supposed to watch at that age. Eddie Murphy, Andrew Dice Clay.
Yeah. Eddie Murphy's another one, because Eddie Murphy, actually, a lot of comedians are like that. Like, their stage presence compared to, like, when they have to go on and do, like, the family stuff. I mean, that's what's his face, Nick Cannon, um, is one of those guys, like, now, like that too. Like, you take one of the reasons why he doesn't host America's Got Talent anymore
Mm-hmm.
was because the stuff that appeared in his act. Like, when he's when he's on there for America's Got Talent, he's there. He's representing, like, that organization. I can't remember what channel it was, what broadcaster it was, but it's like one of those things. Like, that's the representative there. And then he goes on, he does his comedy specials, and he starts talking about some raunchy ass shit. And then all of a sudden, just like, you know, um, the argument could be made is that at that time, because he still is considered the host of America's Got Talent, is he still is he still representing them when he does his own private shows, like, or his own, like, his comedy specials? And the verdict on that is, yeah, you are. Like, you sign into this this stuff, and you can't do this shit anymore. And it's funny because, like, when you get these deals, like, that's the kind of stuff that happens. And who's really bad for that is Disney, actually, and especially because Disney now owns Marvel.
Yeah.
And obviously there's a I've listened to, like, these actors that talk about stuff, because we all know what happened to James Gunn, the director for Guardians of the Galaxy. What happened when that stuff popped up years later. But even though, like, there's, like, if Robert Downey Jr. wasn't such like a flagship guy for there, then, like, and he came to Disney Studios already as Iron Man, he never would have got picked for that. Like, the vetting process that goes into these guys now, and the expectations and the contract obligations that they have, even though, like, an Avengers movie might come out every, few years, that in between that, as long as they're part of that contract, they represent that character. And as a largest part of that, they represent the organization that control it, namely Disney.
And you know what? They took a big ass risk on Downey. Took a huge risk on him. He was definitely not the. I'm surprised that most people don't bring that up, because he literally got kicked off of Ally McBeal because of the shit.
Yeah.
And I think at this age dated myself. Wow.
Oh man, I remember Ally McBeal.
I mean, I knew it was, even though it was on Fox. I think I was watching other shit, and it was too old for me. But, like, I kind of had a guilty pleasure at the age that I was watching The Practice. Was actually pretty good around that time, but I've always liked drama, so that's competent drama. So,
well, I'll tell you, like, when I was growing up, as a kid, like, you don't want to go to bed. You want to stay up as late as possible. Watch TV, and this is, when we had, like, the one TV in the house in the living room, and the only way that I was able to stay up late was if I stayed downstairs with my parents and watched whatever they were watching on TV. Which is why, like, when I can't remember how old I was, maybe 10, 11 years old, I'd stay up every single night till, like, 10 o'clock watching Murphy Brown, because that's what my parents were watching at the time, and I wanted to stay up. So whatever.
Yeah.
I watched Murphy Brown.
I mean, like, oh my God. I know we got to get into the video, but Murphy Brown, fucking LA Law.
LA Law, that was the other one, yeah.
Fucking the not Homicide, but Law and Order, because that was the shit. Like, it was so many shows that I was watching when I was younger that it was just like, why did I watch these shows? Like, and I can't watch them now. Like, I guess too, because some of the shit now is just too sensationalized. I know a lot of people like Scandal, and how do you watch that without getting, climax porn? Is basically just climax fatigue. Every week is this, every week is that. You don't take time to build up a story. And it's like, when I was watching, like, you would watch things like Star Trek, where it was Monster of the Week, or you would watch certain shit where it was just like, hey, this shit is happening, but it's not fucking climax porn. Not everything has to be so episodic. Things can actually just be Monster of the Week. Wow, I'm fucking dating myself by how much TV I'm watching.
One of the last things that I watched, because I don't watch a lot of TV now, but one of the last series I watched was Breaking Bad, and like, I didn't binge this on Netflix. I watched Breaking Bad since it came out. Like, every single Saturday when it was on, I watched it. Or no, Sunday. Sorry, every single Sunday that it was on, I watched it. And like, one of the things that they did in that show, the Vince Gilligan, I think, was the guy that directed it, or wrote it at least, was that there was, you take a look at every single Breaking Bad episode, only one episode ever finished on a cliffhanger. And it was in the last season, It was the one where he's out in the desert with his brother-in-law and all the white nationalists. Like that episode, that was the only one throughout the entire series that finished on a cliffhanger. Every other show climaxed right at the end,
It,
and because of that, like you'd watch these shows and and I remember, I think maybe it was Saturday, because I think it was yeah, because it was Breaking Bad, and then right after that I'd watch Dexter.
and you
Um,
know what?
and I tell you, there was some days like after Breaking Bad that I couldn't watch Dexter because I was emotionally drained from Breaking Bad.
You know what? Here's the thing, and this is gonna like get my TV cred like completely pulled from me. I never watched Dexter. I never watched Breaking Bad. I watched one episode of Game of Thrones, and that one episode is when the little kid was doing the Assassin's Creed Tower scale, and the guy who was fucking his sister just came and pushed him off. I was like, not really my show. It was a Boardwalk Empire. I never watched that. And it's like a lot of these shows that a lot of people would watch and say, "Hey, it's popular, watch it." And I was like, after certain, you know, this is me being contrarian. After so many people watching it, it's like, "Oh, this is good." I was like, "Fuck it, I don't want to watch it now."
Yeah, I'm like the hipster that way too, where it's like, oh, you watch Game of Thrones? That's cute. Yeah, I read all those books a few years ago. You know, like, and yeah, I never really got into the series, yeah, because of that.
Yeah, and it's like it for me. A lot of a lot of stuff now actually aren't wrote or created with a lot of depth. Surprisingly, a lot of the Marvel movies do have depth. That's why I watch them, but a lot of the DC movies don't have that much depth, or they try to have a lot of exposition in place of depth,
Mm.
and it's just one of those things where you can have a three-dimensional character. You don't have to have super complex, just the three-dimensional. Have three things that move them, or one thing that moves them, one past, and one thing they're going for. Like that's why I like anime.
I have,
Ironically,
yeah,
the
I have.
anime characters are actually more real than some of the way these characters are written for real TV shows.
I just the one thing that I don't like about anime, and I do watch you know some anime, is that I hate like finishing off, like what they'll do like an arc, and then you have to wait for so long for it to be released in Japan, and then picked up by a company over here like Funimation or something like that. Have it dubbed in English because I'm that kind of guy. you know that's it.
Oh,
And
sorry.
there's some people. I mean, I say that before. It's like, yeah, I really don't watch anime unless it's dubbed English. And people are just like, "Oh man, the Japanese is great. Just read the subtitles." I'm like, "Fuck that."
Okay,
I don't,
okay.
I
The
don't want to
reason why
read.
I'm the reason why I'm gonna push back on you. Did you ever see Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon?
I did.
Okay. Did you notice inconsistency between the dubbed and the sub?
Um, yes, at some points, yeah. There's there's a funny one. The kind of example. It's not Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, but have you watched Seven Deadly Sins?
Yes.
Okay. It's a great, great series. I'm enjoying it as it's being released on Netflix there. So much that I actually went out and tried to find, some of the manga on this because I really like the kind of the fantasy world that they kind of created for that one. Um, and but when you watch the series, there is within the first season that you can watch right now, they go to this town, and I think it's like Vilja or something like that, and they fight in a tournament to try to win the Diane's hammer back.
Mhm.
And he comes up, Meliodas is fighting this old man that used to be a holy knight. And at the end of the fight, he kind of, when they're kind of talking at the beginning of the fight there, he says to him, he's just like, did you, like, why did you, or like, did you destroy my town or whatever, because he's angry with Meliodas there. And the subtitles is based on the Japanese dub or the Japanese like the language, and the English is supposed to kind of go in line with that. But I guess in the Japanese version he answers yes, and in the English version he answers no. So it's really weird to see this, like I'll have the English subtitles on it while I'm listening to it, and he asks him this question, and Meliodas answers no. Meanwhile, the subtitle on the screen is yes.
And so here's the thing. I like Funimation. They're getting a lot better. Saget and what is the other guy's name? God damn. Who's the fucker that does Vegeta? No, it is Saget who does Vegeta.
Yeah.
He fucking he learned from the original dubs of Dragon Ball Z to, like, we need to keep some westernized stuff, but we need to actually also have some of the culture and some of the context, so you can actually see them actually fix it, versus like, oh my god, some of the dubs of early Dragon Ball Z, horrible. And we have to thank some wonderful people in Canada. And I'm fucking tired. I'm trying to have a hangout, and I'm fucking tired. But we have to thank some wonderful people in Canada for the Big Green dub. They call Piccolo Big Green. Oh, sorry. You call Piccolo Big Green. Oh my god. I'm sorry. And this is where you get the Team 4-star joke for Dende, Little Green, because of the Big Green dub. And it's just, I'm sorry, that shit just tickles me every time.
Yeah.
But let's get into this video. We talked enough shit. Let's get into this video.
All right.
I'm gonna bring it up. All right. Share screen. Where is it at? Oh, here we go. Share. All right. So it's actually only about 10 minutes long. And because it's only about 10 minutes long, this may take like 3 hours. All right, let's go. Come on. All right, so.
Say what you want about American land of free, open trade. We got some dumbass motherfuckers floating around this country. Dumbass motherfuckers. Now, obviously, that doesn't include this audience. I understand that.
Oh, my internet is chugging.
Seem intelligent, perceptive, but the rest of them, holy jumping fucking shitballs. Dumber than a second coat of paint. And this ain't just random raving. This ain't just blowing off steam. I got a little evidence to support my claim. It just seems to me that only a really low IQ population would have taken this beautiful continent, this magnificent American landscape we inherited. Well, actually, we stole it from the Mexicans and Indians, but hey, it was nice when we stole it. Looked pretty good. It was pristine. Paradise. Have you seen it lately?
All right, so just going back to this. So I love how Carlin does it. He's unapologetically insulting. Did I lose you, Socka?
No, I'm here.
Okay. Now he's unapologetically insulting, and he's like, previous works he would insult the people in the room. That's like my first time of hearing, like, if you half the people in the room are, you think however fucking intelligent people these in the room, and remember, divided by half and shit like that. He's unapologetically insulting, and it's he threw in a few jabs in there. Just you would be surprised. This is 2005. I think he died in what, '07, probably. I know this is probably one of his last comedy specials. So, um, it's just
2008. Yeah.
okay, yeah, and it's just hilarious because he starts throwing the jabs in like, oh yeah, it was a beautiful country when we got it. He's like, no, we stole it, but it was still beautiful, and it's just funny to me. It's one of those things where he insults everybody equally.
Yeah, and it's funny because it's one of those points like that is, technically true, and the you don't get a lot of contention for that. You don't get a lot of pushback from it. I mean, it's the idea of humor. Is humor always, it's kind of poking fun at things that, there is some underlying truth to it. So as per contentious of an issue as it is, it's still funny to be inside of a room and basically, tell everybody that this land is stolen and, to get applause and laughs from that. But the reason why is because, technically he's right.
So let me ask this question. I often make the argument with people I know that a comedian like Carlin would not be able to survive in this culture today because there's almost no satire anymore.
I think that comedians have definitely gone. They're for a while there they got pretty bad. You hear like a lot of comedians say things like, they won't do shows on college campuses anymore because there are people there that want to be outraged. That they will find every single like a good place to get outraged is a comedy show because I mean, I'm not sure if anyone's ever been to a comedy show. They're raunchy. They poke fun at people. It's supposed to be in good fun. But that type of fun is off limits to some people. So they um, so they don't do those shows anymore. But what you're seeing now is that there's actually like there's comedians I think that are fighting back or pushing back against that. Like if you take a look at like a lot of the stuff that oh fuck, what's his name? Dave Chappelle has done since he's been back. Like the 3 comedy specials he's done recently. Like he's basically, giving a big fuck you to that culture. This idea that's like, that yeah, you're gonna be offended. I don't care. Like, in his act, making jokes about like trannies and stuff. Even to go as so far as to refer to them as trannies. Which is it's something in and of itself that is offensive.
Well, you know what? Here's the thing. I think Lewis Black said it best. We went from being able to talk to people to just texting them and telling them to do shit on the phone. You don't talk to people anymore. You are hiding behind words. And it's one of the reasons why I fucking start doing like videos is because you can get words across. Writing takes skill. Not too many people know how to write and articulate things, and even fewer know how to read shit. So you have it where people say you may write something that sound very satirical, but there are people who don't understand the satirical nature. Like another author, fucking Swift, who did Gulliver's Travels. He wrote a satirical paper about fucking eating babies because of the Irish potato famine. Some people will take that serious now.
Yep.
So, all right, let's get back to it.
Take it. Clarity. Unenlightened wins. Taking this beautiful place, turn it into what it is today. Shopping mall. Big fucking shopping mall. That's all you got. That's all you got here, folks. Mile after mile of mall after mall. Many, many malls. Major malls and mini malls. They put the mini malls in. Between the mini malls, they put the mini marts. And in between the mini marts, you got the car lots, gas stations, muffler shops, laundromats, cheap hotels, fast food joints, strip clubs, and dirty bookstores. America the Beautiful, one big transcontinental commercial cesspool How do the people feel about all this? How do the people feel about living in a coast-to-coast shopping mall? Well, they think it's just fucking dandy.
You know what I love about the way his comedy does? He's able to start slow, almost like a locomotive, and keep going and building and building and building, where it's before you know it, he's gotten to his point, and you just agreed out of a sense of one point leads to another. It's almost, it is a sequitur almost.
Did I lose you there?
No, I'm there. I was waiting for you. I thought you was going to say
Oh,
something.
sorry. No, I was going outside. No, I like. Um, this is one of those weird moments, like when you're listening to this, because he's building up to this now, and like I said, people are, are laughing, but I think people are starting to realize that they're laughing at themselves, and like that stage that we're talking about, where some people don't realize that is that that's what makes the joke funny, is you're laughing at this and you agree with it. Oh yeah, he's got me, type thing. And yeah, when we talk about how comedy has fallen away, it's that there's people out there now that even if a joke's funny, when they realize it's funny because it's poking fun at themselves, they find that the natural response to something like that is to get offended.
One thing that I wanted to ask somebody, I wanted to bring this up. Um, I know a little bit about why we have shopping malls now. They were supposed to replace the town square, but this is 2005 when he was saying this. Right now, we don't have shopping malls. Now, I know I know you're not in the US, but like we're losing a lot of major stores here. Carson's, JC Penney's, we lost Marshall Fields. All of these retail businesses are going by the wayside. And it's like, I used to work in a mall that's literally closed and tore down now. Another one I used to work at is mostly a ghost town with, a, admittedly, a lot of mom and pop stores. This shit is actually breaking down. This system that we had is now starting to fucking break down. And it's like, yeah, but the consumerism is starting to be amped the fuck up.
Well, there's certain things that you can't foresee, man. Like the like, first off, I mean, places like Walmart. Walmart's always been around, but I think like some of the stigma that's been around it, it's not like like the people of Walmart that it used to be. It is like one of those convenient places like that you go to. Like I mean, especially as parents, like maybe it's one of those things that you joke about as a kid. It's like when your parents buy you clothes at Walmart, but like fuck, man, I got three kids. I buy their clothes at Walmart. Like, but on, it's cheaper than going to the malls. And then on top of that, I mean, like, if I need something specific, like, and a good example for this is that I needed a cooling pad for my laptop, because I got a pretty good gaming laptop, but man, does it generate a lot of heat, and I did the thing first off. I went out, to a couple stores, and couldn't find anything. Go on Amazon. I got 17 different options, and they'll be here in 2 days.
Ironically, that's how I. So I'm working on the laptop from that my daughter used to have, and the reason why I have the setup the way I have it is because the screen had broke at one time, and I was able to go on Amazon after like a port broke where I was hooking up to a TV and just buy the screen. And now it's just like the consumerism is ramped up. However, it's, in my opinion, is getting a little bit worse because people aren't even leaving the home anymore for some of the shit. And I'm glad we have Hangouts so we can talk to each other, because yeah, if people didn't interact, the world will be at a worse place. But that's a conversation for another time. Let's keep going. All right.
All right.
They think it is cool as can be. Americans love them all. They love them all. That's where they get to satisfy their two most prominent addictions. At the same time, shopping and eating. Billions of semi-conscious Americans, day after day, shuffling through the malls, shopping and eating, especially eating. Americans love to eat. They are fatally attracted to the slow death of fast food. Hot dogs, corn dogs, triple bacon, cheeseburgers, deep fried butter, pork fat, cheese whiz, mayonnaise, soaked barbecue, mozzarella, patty melts. Americans will eat anything, anything, anything. If you were selling sauteed raccoons' assholes on a stick, Americans would buy them and eat them, especially if we dip them in butter and put a little salsa on them. This country is big time, big time. Forget the bald eagle. You know what the national anthem of this country ought to be? A big bowl of macaroni and cheese.
I didn't want to laugh, but that shit was heartbreaking. Oh, that shit was heartbreaking.
Yeah, the ease, like that comes down to, I mean, obviously, I mean, people know this stuff. It's just it's cheaper, it's more convenient, like the
Oh,
the
Socka. You're gonna spoil it. I get what you're saying. You're gonna spoil it. It's brought up.
carry on.
All right.
A big bowl, because everything in this country is king size, extra large, and super jumbo, especially the fucking people. Have you seen some of the people in this country? Have you taken a good look at some of these big fat motherfuckers walking around? Big fat motherfuckers. Oh my God. Huge piles of redundant protoplasm lumbering through the walls like a fleet of interstate buses. The people in this country are immense. Massive bellies, monstrous thighs, and big fat fucking asses. And if you stand there for a minute and you look at one of them, and you begin to wonder, how does this woman take a shit?
Okay, so as a fat fuck myself, I can take a shit and usually am cool. Now, catch me on when I cook my own shit, like cook my own fucking food. Sometimes okay, that joke died horribly. Anyway, but as a this shit is right. Like America is the land of the free, home of the expanding waistline. So shit. This motherfucker. Fucking hate that I like his ass. You guys don't have that problem up there, do y'all?
What, rampant obesity?
Yeah.
No, we have it, just maybe not to the same scale.
You said scale.
No pun intended. But I mean, that's an interesting. I wonder what like. Let's Google foo this real quick. Canadian versus American obesity. Let's see here. Oh, apparently Canada ranks among one of the worst overweight countries. Let's see here. So Canadian men. Sorry. So yeah, the total got about 24% obese class 1, which is they like the BMI index. Okay, so if you guys know what the BMI index is, it's the body mass index for they calculate it like this. What I don't even know how they do it. I think it's like your weight versus what you displace or something. But yeah, so anything above obese class 1 is anything higher than a BMI of 30. And so Canada is about 24%. US is about 34%.
Yeah, it was a fucking interesting article that I was reading online where and I kind of understand it. It kind of seems like the award for diminished returns, where they're actually looking at the BMI, because BMI can be fooled so bad, but they're talking about the people that may be classified as obese but don't have heart disease. So it's just one of those things where it's just like I don't want to spoil the rest of the video, but we fucking need to take a look at the systems that we have in place. So, all right, let's continue. Let's hear him rip apart somebody.
How does she shit? Even more frightening, how does she wipe her ass? Does she even locate her asshole? She must require assistance. Are paramedics trained in this field? Standing right next to her, of course, with a plate full of nachos and a mouthful of pie is her clueless fucking husband, Joe's six-pack. With his monstrous swollen beer belly hanging dangerously out over his beer belt buckle, this guy ain't seen his dick since the Nixon administration. You stand there and you look at the two of them, you begin to wonder to yourself, these people fuck.
Ouch. I think that's
it's funny, like when I left the army and I joined the transferred over to the Navy. Hey, go. What are you doing in here? Get out of here. Had to kick my kid out of the room before I continue talking. No, but when I left the army and they transferred over to the Navy, I started putting on some weight, and like that became the metric for me. Is that like, like the point where it was just like, I wouldn't consider myself overweight until I lost visibility of my unit. Like like if you're going standing at the urinal and and you have to dig around to find where your dick is, you should probably go on a diet. So like that's always been my metric of like, like I don't care if I get like, a little bit of a, like a beer gut on me, as long as I can always see my dick, I'm okay.
Well, I wouldn't know. I don't have that problem, even though I'm overweight.
Oh, fuck off.
You know what? And to be honest with you, here, I'm going to be very honest with you. I think that's one of the reasons why I'm motivated to work out, because I never want to be a position where I can't get into position. Oh God. Oh God. Let's just continue. Let's move past that subject.
Is this man actually capable of fucking this woman? Doesn't seem structurally possible. Some people could achieve penetration. Maybe they're in that Cirque du Soleil or something. I'm telling you, the people in this country, on every hand of 50 pounds overweight, they are gargantuan. And in the summertime, God help us, in the summertime, they all want to wear short pants. Jesus, Lord, protector of all those. From fat people in short pants. All got short pants, big bellies, fat thighs, and dumb kids. Short pants, big bellies, fat thighs, and dumb kids. Everyone has two dumbass kids with them. The whole family is wearing t-shirts, and every one of them's got the same t-shirt. Mine was stupid. Apparently in this country, the stupids are an extended family. Besides wearing them t-shirts, everyone in the family's got on a backpack. They got a backpack strapped to their back so they can carry around lots of stupid shit. The reason they got to carry their stupid shit strapped to their backs is because their hands must remain free at all times to hold food. And to get that food up to the mouth where it gets shoveled in with all the rest of the disgusting shit they ate that day.
I've seen this family.
It's weird because like I've traveled like I've gone all over the world, and like I'll tell you, like there's certain places where this isn't an issue. Like for example, like you go to a place like Japan, and I brought this up before, Japan, or even Singapore when I was there. It's you do not, if you're walking down the street, you don't have food in your hands. You're not sipping on a, like a big gulp. You're not fucking munching on a hot dog. Don't pull a bag of chips or anything like that. Is that, walking while eating is considered kind of rude, in the same way that like walking through, imagine walking through a crowded street, smoking a cigarette. Most smokers would, they kind of go find a spot where they'll be stationary, kind of out of the way of people, go smoke, make sure away from an entrance. That's the way we kind of treat it now. But when you see some guy walking down the street in the middle of a crowd, just fucking puffing away, might think it's like, man, that guy's kind of an asshole. And they have like the same type of reservations towards seeing people eating while walking. So that's probably one of the reasons why they don't deal with the same issues. Is that like you can't just be consuming food 24/7.
Well, and you know what? Here's the thing, and this is the funniest part about it, is that that's our biggest fucking import. Besides stupidity, Americans have wow, that's our biggest export, is stupidity and horrible eating habits and food. If the fucking world ate like we did here in America, we wouldn't have enough food to feed everybody. Yeah, that's kind of sobering. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, that's all I have.
All right. Oh, one thing that I want to make a point, in the background, the set is literally filled with tombstones. Life is worth losing. Oh, George Carlin, we miss your optimism.
Another reason for the backpacks is these people are going to buy even more stupid shit. They ain't got enough stupid shit at home. They just had a stupid shit sale. They ain't got to buy more. They got to go out in the parking lot and stuff this stuff into the big, fat, ugly, oversized SUV. It's got plenty of room in it. Plenty of room in it for stupid shit and lots of room left over for these big, fat, ugly motherfuckers to get them home. Stopping, of course, for jelly roll and fried dough. These people are efficient, professional, compulsive consumers. It's their civic duty. Consumption. It's the new national pastime. Fuck baseball. It's consumption. The only true, lasting American value that's left. Buying things. Buying things. People spending money they don't have on things they don't need. Money they don't have on things they don't need. So they can max out their credit cards and spend the rest of their lives paying 18% interest on something that costs $12.50. And they didn't like it when they got it home anyway. Not too bright, folks. Not too fucking bright. But if you talk to one of them about this, guy spent one of them sitting down rationally, you talk to them about the low IQs and the dumb behavior and the bad decisions, right away they start talking about education. That's the big answer to everything. Education. They said we need more money for education. We need more books, more teachers, more classrooms, more schools. We need more testing for the kids. He said, well, we've tried all of that, and the kids still can't pass the test. So don't you worry about that. We're going to lower the passing grades.
All right, so he said a couple of things, and I want to actually get to. One, as somebody who has a child, I specifically try to take time to teach shit that a school is incapable of teaching, isn't equipped to teach, and isn't their place to teach. And it's kind of fucking alarming. And I'm going to say this. It's kind of fucking alarming that a lot of times, and it's going to a point that he's going to make, parents treat a lot of parents treat school as a babysitter, because they have to go out and work and make sure needs and mostly wants are taken care of. Now, that to me is not saying that we have to go back to 1950s romanticized view of the world, but a lot of times two parents have to work because they have no choice, and then they leave the schools to try to teach their kids. Do I sound like I'm in left field somewhere?
No, I get what you're saying. Like, that there, like, a lot of critiques can be made about the education system and how they approach things. And that the idea is that you want you want the kids in school to pass. The teachers want them to pass. I mean, it looks good on them, whatever. But the way that you assess a child to whether or not they have that they've passed, like the assessment we have is through tests, exams, things like that, which doesn't really do much for teaching kids material. What that does is it teach kids how to memorize things for the duration that they need to know it. Like, so you think back to when you were in high school or whatever, is you study the material when you need to pass the test. Once you pass the test, just you dump the cash after that. You forget it. You're never going to use it again. Most people think, for a good example, this is math. Like, um, most of the stuff, probably people took like some type of pre-cal level mathematics when they were in school, if not, like applied mathematics or using like the TI-82 calculators or whatever the fuck that shit is. How many people can do that stuff nowadays? Nobody does. It's stuff you don't do in practice unless you're in a field that's heavily, related to math. These are skills that just fall off. You just don't use them anymore. And so because that the only thing that was important in school wasn't about teaching people how to retain this information. It only all you did was develop habits of memorizing it just for the duration of when you needed it, and then after that, just dumping it afterwards.
Yeah, and one of the things that kind of okay, so um, we had Common Core here in the U.S., and it was just like for me, like they're teaching for the test because they're told that they're not just teachers' compensation, but school funding is tied to the test, and that whole memorization of things it doesn't it doesn't aid people in learning. It just rote memorization. And it's like, for me, it's one of those things where we have a disservice with what we do with our kids to just say, oh, you need to learn, in other words, memorize this, and from there you can actually you would actually be able to pass to the next grade. Like, it's almost like the world's shittiest video game where you learn this skill to beat this boss. After you beat this boss, you won't need that skill again.
Oh man, I'm just thinking about Dark Souls. Sorry, sorry. What were we talking about again? Wasn't wasn't Dark Souls, right? Okay, good. Okay.
Oh God! All right, let's continue.
So they do in a lot of these schools now. They lower the grades so more kids can pass. More kids pass, the school looks good. Everybody's happy. The IQ of the country slips another 2 or 3 points, and pretty soon, all you'll need to get into college is a fucking pencil. Pencil, get the fuck in there. It's physics. Everyone wonders why 17 other countries graduate more scientists than we do. Education. Politicians know that word. Politicians have traditionally hidden behind 3 things: flag, the Bible, children. No child left behind. No child left behind. Oh, it wasn't long ago. We were teaching kids at start. Head Start, left behind. Someone's losing fucking ground here. There's a reason. There's a reason. There's a reason for this. There's a reason education sucks. It's the same reason that will never, ever, ever be fixed. It's never going to get any better. Don't look for it. Happy with what you got. Because the owners of this country don't want that. I'm talking about the real owners now. The real owners, the big wealthy business interests that control things and make all the important decisions. Forget the politicians. The politicians are put there to give you the idea that you have freedom of choice. You don't. You have no choice. You have owners. They own you. They own everything. They own all the important land. They own and control the corporations. They've long since bought and paid for the Senate, the Congress, the state houses, the city halls. They got the judges in their back pockets. And they own all the big media companies, so they control just about all of the news and information you get to hear. They got you by the balls. They spend billions of dollars every year lobbying to get what they want.
All right, stop it there. because it's gonna get too far. All right, so couple things that I want to say. First, I understand why people have conspiracy theories. This sounds like a conspiracy theory. I grant people that. However, this isn't the whole 9/11 was an inside job, or the earth is secretly flat and people are trying to hide it from us. I understand conspiracy theories. This comes close to a conspiracy theory, but he's hamming it up for a fact. So with me, it not that it sounds true. I know that it is. I think that allowing money in politics was the worst mistake that we could have made, because the people that have the most money want the most power. But go ahead. I'm off my soapbox.
Okay. Yeah, so this gets kind of the crux, I think, of like what you're saying, like the point of this video here. And there's a couple different concepts that he's putting out there. One is the aspect of control, like who actually controls this. Yeah, and this goes into the entire idea that this narrative that gets kind of put out there that that your vote doesn't have it doesn't really matter, because at the end of the day it's going to be one puppet or another puppet, because they're being controlled by huge corporations anyway, which I think is wrong. Now, yes, there are candidates out there that do get by on the fact that they rely on a lot of campaign donations from people, from special interest groups, and from people whose interests might not line up with those of the constituents. Because at the end of the day, this is, the U.S. is an example of representative democracy, which means that the people that are in office have to be there because they represent the region that elects them, that puts them into place. So their main priority should be not of whoever has given them money, or the special interest groups that are lobbying towards their cause. They're there in office because they are supposed to be representing a sect of people. But the problem is that people are ignorant. The reason why lobbyists and these extra groups get to do this is because the idea of politics now and voting, especially in a country that has become complacent with the democracy that they have, is that they view it as activity that they have to very little involvement in. Now, the reason why we use democratic, representation like this is because we can't send every single person out to go vote, and it was too much of a logistical nightmare to go out and get every single person's opinion on something before any type of bill was passed or law was formed or anything. So you had to trust on somebody to represent you as a whole. And that doesn't mean that you after that you lose interest in the entire system, but that's what a lot of people have done, is that now that you have this person and you elect them in there, they're kind of on autopilot. There is very little role that you have in the political process beyond just putting somebody in place. And for those the year and a half or so that they have to go and try to earn your votes, they'll tell you whatever the hell they want you want to hear just to get elected in there. But because they know that it's this automated process, that once they get their seat there, that your interest in the political process is completely falls off, that there's nobody that's actually holding them to maintain the promises that they had put out there in the first place. There's no pressure on them. And this becomes the problem with this, is how disinterested we have become within the entire political process. So of course they're going to be representing special interest groups. Of course they're going to be taking money and going for those people, because these are the people that they see on a day-to-day basis. These are the people that are expressing an interest in changing policies and making things whatever that's easier for them, because your average citizen isn't banging down their door doing this. People think that this comes down to an issue of money, that it's, they're not going to listen to you because you don't have that money. Well, you don't know that, because they're not going to listen to you if you don't say anything. Enough people that are out there that are going to be arguing a point, trying to say something is going to get the attention of people. Because if that person doesn't represent them, if every single person speaks up and has this voice out there for change, for things that they want to implement, and the person that you've elected to represent you is not doing that, they're going to find somebody else. So it's not necessarily that your vote doesn't matter because you have no money, or your voice doesn't matter because you don't have any money. The thing is that the people have become cynical of the entire system, and yet do nothing to change it. So of course money's going to run it. Of course these people are going to do it, because people just don't speak up anymore.
Well, I got to counter that. I do have to counter that, because in instances where, I'm not saying there's some big shadowy conspiracy, I don't want to actually lay that at the feet of what he's saying or what happens to politicians in general. Remember, never attribute to malice what can easily be attributed to stupidity, or what I like to add, greed or cowardice. The thing about it is, I'm not saying that these people go into the system to be corrupt. No, I actually literally believe they actually go to make a point. However, when it comes to, and again, not a shadowy conspiracy, but drug companies, military contractors, all of these things, fossil fuels, all of these things where it's not that they are, we in the US law, I know it may be different. In the US law, we literally writ it into law. Companies have to have a fiduciary responsibility to make as much money as they can. And so companies, them and in of themselves are amoral. And that's a situation where it's almost worse than being immoral to be amoral, because they just don't care whatever pats the bottom line, because they have to pat the bottom line. And so you made a very interesting point. You said that people are disengaged once they cast their vote. Yeah, because when a lot of this hyper-partisanship started when they got rid of the Fair Act, where a lot of media companies were able to swallow up smaller companies. I say this as like, I'm not mad that Comcast, even while I was working there, I wasn't mad that Comcast actually bought NBC. I was upset that they tried to buy the right to the intellectual properties and the news media that they had, because that way they started turning things to fit. Well, corporations are great, where no, corporations are tools and they have no discernment. But go ahead.
I get what you're saying. I think that like the point though, like the main point that I'm trying to illustrate there is that people don't want change, because you take a look at these issues here. Like for example, there's a lot of different things that you can point to where you have the vast majority of constituents within the U.S., for example, voting for things like sensible gun laws, whatever the hell that means. And that's because you do the polling, and this seems like something that you should side with, and then nothing comes of this. And what happens? Well, the next time things come around, they elect the same people in place, the people that don't actually look out for these needs. Because the other issue that especially you run into within the U.S. politics there is because it becomes you're in line with the party. Very few people vote outside of their party lines, and that who you vote for becomes part of your identity. That if you're a Democrat, if you consider yourself a very liberal person like that, there's no way that you're ever going to cast a vote for the GOP. Because it doesn't even matter whether or not these people represent you or not. And then the entire process of, like, for example, like when they're doing the what is it called? When they're electing, when they do the within the party to find who's going to the primaries. So within the primaries, all you've done is you've just pushed another election on people. Something people don't have the interest in this to do this for this long. That they don't vote for. They don't care about this. This stuff as much as they should. Like I said, I think that the biggest problem that has happened, and you see this within the voter turnout rate, is that the people have just become so disinterested with the political the system as it is right now. And as long as things maintain, they become content with that. Because the majority of people, that's what it comes down to: just maintaining the course. Yeah, it's not the greatest. Yeah, it could be better, but hey, fuck, we don't want it to get worse. So as long as it maintains, they become content. And the problem is that there's a lot of things, and I'm not talking about like armed revolution or anything like that, but to inspire actual change that would make it that would have a meaningful effect on the political process takes energy. It takes time out of people's life. People are already tired. They work 9 to 5. They're struggling to get by. They're paying the mortgage. They're taking the kids to soccer practice. They're trying to put they're trying to put they save up enough money to put their kids in college. They're thinking about like next summer's vacation to what's I don't know, Disneyland or something like that. Like these are the things that concern people on a day-to-day basis. That the idea that having to bring in the idea that you have to start a revolution of some sort to actually make meaningful change to the political process you have in place, nobody wants to do that when it's just easier to maintain.
That's why click the visual click, what do they call it? Fucking clicktivism, click activism is so prevalent now because you have to click a button.
Yeah. All you have to do is just like, sign this petition. Like all you have to do is do the e-signature. Fuck, I'm on this. I care about this, like, and that's it. Like, and people think that they're doing meaningful things, and our life becomes so easy at this stuff that you don't actually have to stand up and defend anything anymore. Like, you don't have to stand up for to go out there on the streets and fight for gay rights when all you have to do is put a rainbow overlay on your Facebook profile. Fuck, that's your dedication to the movement, and people feel like content at this, like they've somehow achieved something. I'm showing my support, and that's all that I need to do. The virtue signaling signs you throw out there, in this idea that is the necessary step that you have to do to incite change. Like fuck, these people prosper on that. The people that want to maintain the course, they like that. They like the fact that you will take the easy way out, and not actually do anything.
You know what? I'm reminded of two things. One, I'm always the one at work when I try to have meaningful discussions. It doesn't take all of that. It's not that serious. And I think to myself, like, you fucking idiot. And two, it's going back to the previous things that he said, and he's going to reiterate in this video. It's almost as if we're half conscious.
Well, that's that's one way to put it. Yeah, I guess like I understand what he's saying. Like when I talk about people just being content with maintaining the course, that's what it is. It's a state of just you know uh, what's the term where you just submission. Like we're subservient to the system. Like that's in place now, and the less that you have to do to actually be involved in this, the better off you are. And like I said, this goes back to the previous point when we had talked about like representative democracies. Is there was a role for representative democracies back in the day, because the logistics of that, of trying to, if there was a bill that was being voted on, you just wanted to send the person that represented the group instead of finding out what actually people believe. And I think that the idea of representative democracies now, I think they're actually antiquated. They're old. There's nothing wrong now. Like when you can go out and you can do a national census, you can put things out there and you can get an actual opinion of the people within the country. If you want to pass a bill, if you want to do something like to get some legislation out there, then you can send this out to every single person in America, or at least the vast majority of them. And hey, what is your views on this?
Well, and you know what? I'm sorry to interrupt you. What you're just saying is, I think that's one of the reasons why we're seeing so many ballot measures now versus, oh, we're going to send a representative. No, we have more ballot measures now. And I've always, realized one thing. I remember when I was younger, during election days, we usually did the day off. It was a shift. I don't know, 20 years ago, where no, it's election day. No, you go to school, and it's like, I think we should have fucking election days on a day where most people don't work, to allow for most people to get out there and fucking vote.
They should fine you. They should do what the Australians do. Is that like first off, yeah, like voting booths are open between these hours there. Every single person that can go in can vote. If you don't vote, here's your $50 ticket for not voting. That's what they do. That's what they do in Australia.
Not in the free, not in the home of the brave, and I had the freedom not to vote.
Well, you have this isn't a freedom issue. You have an obligation. Okay, this is freedoms don't get you out of the actual obligations that you have to be part of a system. Okay, your freedom is maintained by the fact that you are an active member of that system, and if you want for that system to persist, then there are certain obligations that you have to fulfill, or that trumps your freedoms. Like you have an obligation to respect, like to other people out there. Like for example, like one of the discussions we were talking about, I was having in this chat earlier or with somebody else earlier, was about rights. What are rights, and who can have rights. And one of the points I brought up there is that like there's different schools of thoughts when we talk about what rights are, but when we talk about them, they are sometimes they're thought to be like the responsibilities of moral agents because moral agents can reciprocate them back onto other agents out there. This is why there's kind of a point of contention when we talk about animal rights because the reciprocation is always something that you have to kind of like look at when you're dealing with rights. So for example, that we respect somebody else's right to property, life, whatever, because they will do the same in turn to you. It doesn't matter what freedoms you have. The freedom only works on the foundation that your right to freedom is respected by other people out there. Okay, so having a right to freedom, having a right to do these things doesn't mean that takes you out of the obligations that you have to the people or the system around you. There's certain things that freedom doesn't trump, and that is the things that you are obligated to do, such as respect other people's freedom or to do what you need to do to maintain the system that allows you that freedom.
I mean, and you know what? That's why I've always had a problem with libertarians. And it's not because I don't. My biggest problem with libertarians is that, freedom trumps everything. And I've never been one to impose will on people just to get what I want. But there are certain freedoms you give up to live in a society where if you totally lived in a situation where there was no freedom, you automatically fall into might makes right. And this is a little bit outside, but it's one of those things where we set boundaries as a society where it makes sense to give up some freedoms in order to have a general overall freedom. It's like the herd immunity thing. Some people can't get immunizations, but because there is an overall immunity for most people, they're grouped inside of the herd.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go ahead and finish. Before we finish, let me a bottle of water. I'll be right back.
Yeah.
Shit, fucking thirsty. All right, let's go. Let's finish this out.
They want themselves and the rest of everybody else. I'll tell you what they don't want. They don't want a population of citizens capable of critical thinking. They don't want well-informed, well-educated people capable of critical thinking. And not interested in that. Let's help them. That's against their interest. Right. They don't want people who are smart enough to sit around the kitchen table. Yeah, when they get fucking board 30 fucking years ago. They don't want that. What they want obedient workers. Obedient workers. People who are just smart enough to run the machines and do the paperwork, just dumb enough to passively accept all these increasingly shittier jobs with the lower pay, the longer hours, the reduced benefits, the end of overtime, and the vanishing pension that disappears the minute you go to collect it. And now they're coming for your Social Security money. They want your fucking retirement money. They want it back so they can give it to their criminal friends on Wall Street. And you know something? They'll get it. They'll get it all from you sooner or later because they own this fucking place.
All right, stop it right here. Ironically, Paul Ryan, the Speaker of the House, is actively saying before they did this massive tax cut, it was like, no, it'll pay for itself. After they passed it, no, we have a big hole in our budget. Let's go after Social Security. It's just ironic that I found this. I found this earlier today. I was like, fuck. They're coming after our money.
Yeah, I've looked at that at one of the things that was kind of guaranteed with the tax bill was that they would never go after the Social Security or anything like that. And as of right now, I don't think that they have, but they have been eyeing it up, which is scary for anybody that's relying on that type of stuff for when they retire. But I mean, I think the point that I want to push back against George Carlin with this is what we were talking about there earlier, is that he puts this out there where he says that the government doesn't want critical thinkers. The government doesn't want people to analyze this. They want good workers. They want obedient workers. And this is the point that I want to push back on, is that the government doesn't want this. The government isn't a single entity. There are different things within the government, and the government by itself is just it's nothing. It's a group of people. It's kind of hard to explain, but maybe I can do it this way: is that the people that are elected, and this is what I was saying earlier, the people that are elected in government, that we put out there to represent us in Congress or in Canada here in Parliament, are the people that we put there because not because they want us to be obedient, but because that's what we want. We want to, like I said, maintain the course. We surrender this stuff. We say, we put the people in, and we ask the question, like I asked the question earlier about how can we just re-elect somebody who would vote against something that like 80% of the populace wants, such as, some gun control issues or sensible gun legislation. How can we re-elect these people when they vote against our interests? And the reason why is, like I said, is because at the end of the day, it's easier just to maintain. Like a lot of people will say things like, they want universal health care, or that they want, college being paid for all, especially like you get onto like the more like left side of the political spectrum. There's a lot of programs that people want to put in place. And I think at the end of the day that this goes back to the point that I was talking about earlier. So it's you have all these Justice Democrats that are running, now trying to usurp the corporate Democrats, as they're kind of being called now. They try to put in this kind of more this much more liberal kind of attitude into politics, and people will, like I said, most people on the left will do the virtue signaling. They'll talk about universal health care. They'll talk about a free university and all these things. But yet then when presented with the option between Democratic candidates, one that would, more likely do this compared to one that's going to maintain the course, well, right now, the split still seems to be landing. While we have some of these Justice Democrats that are being, winning in these primaries, it seems to be that we're seeing a lot of the corporate ones stick around as well, because like I said, like people like to maintain the course.
Well, you know what? And I'm going to actually push back again on what George Carlin said too. It's not the government. It's not the corporations. I'm going to actually say that just outright. It's the people in power. And when I say people in power, I mean little people. As far as how many people do you know that just don't want to be challenged? After they said something, they don't want to be challenged. And then
the fact that you've tried to offer 2 rounds of rebuttals to something I've said pisses me right the fuck off. So I'm joking. Sorry.
No. If you have a conversation with somebody, like obviously it's different for what you're in. Then I work in a corporate structure, and you would be surprised how many people your direct supervisors just don't want to be questioned. Like, no, just do it because this is what they told me to tell you. And I used to get in trouble for just out and out questioning it. However, I've learned a way of questioning it. Well, you want me to do this. This is a tool that you have. This is what you asked me to do. I'm doing the tool that you asked me to do. Why isn't it giving me the results that you want? And it's people just hate to be questioned. Do it because I said so.
It's an interesting point, because I brought this up last night. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I think it's appropriate this time. And I bring this up a lot is because one of the things that I've done is that I've taught leadership. Like in the military, I've taught like the fundamentals and the principles of leadership. I've taught people how to to do these things and how to apply them regardless of what their position is or their job is. So whether they're running like a small section in an infantry unit or an office and working at an orderly room, um, that the same principles of leadership can apply in all these different situations. And one of the things that you're pointing out here is an example of bad leadership. And it's that when you think like the military is the organization, the way that it is that leadership, chain of command, these things are fundamental to the organization, to these things, to the entire military. It's the fundamentals, because it's not just a matter of like telling people what they need to do to just complete a task. It's that there's going to be times we're going to tell people what to do, and you're literally holding their life in your hands when they do this. So there has to be a certain amount of faith, trust that they have in you to do this. And so when you come to the situation where people that don't like to be questioned, and I understand that, like there's times where I give orders to my subordinates and people underneath me, and some of them might question things, and I don't view it as an irritant as much as a failure on my part that I wasn't clear and concise enough in my first time when I presented this. And this is what I've taught the people as well, is that and this is a good example, is that there's those bosses that come down and they say things like, okay guys, we got to get this done. All right, you're going to go off, you're going to do this, and you're going to have people that are going to be standing there, and they're going to be, why do we have to do this? They're going to be thinking this, or if they don't actually verbalize it, if you give people not enough information, about the task, you're not going to give people the motivation to do the task successfully, but from this, you get an offshoot of two different type of coping strategies for this. Especially if it's a really bad job, like a real shit job, is that you have certain leaders that come down, managers or whatever, and they say, hey guys, listen, this is the buddy technique, where it's like, hey guys, listen, this is a shit job. I know it's a shit job. I'm sorry about that, but you know what? You got to get this done. Word came up from up high there that this stuff has to be done before Monday. So, sorry, got to put in some extra time. Got to get this stuff done. Now, that might seem like a cool leader to you. He's one of the boys. He's associating with you. He feels he's got that empathy. He feels your pain there. But what has he done? He or she has given you a task and then told you that it is a shitty task. They've all they've done is just you were already pissed off because you had to do this extra work. Now you're even more pissed off because you have to do this extra work for a shitty job. But then you have the good leadership techniques. You got to come down and you have to sell it. Okay, you have to sell, like, hey guys, good news. Listen, I know you guys had some plans for this weekend, but hey, we got this great opportunity where we can, we finish this right here. We, get some good bonus points here for the higher ups. We're going to show them we can do this. It's a challenge to us, but I know we could overcome this stuff. Let's do this, and you pump them up and you get them excited to do this. You really sell it to them that this is not only this isn't a shit job. This is the most important thing that we can do right now, and it's techniques like that are these are the qualities of a good leader. And I know what you're talking about when we talk about like people that they don't want to be questioned there. And at any given time, like if your boss comes down and does that stuff, it's just because they're a shit boss.
And you know what? Here's my thing, and this is ironically where I got even some of the things that I do with parenting, and I always fuck up this man's name. The guy who wrote Art of War. Please tell me his name.
Sun Tzu.
Sun Tzu. He said it clearly. I'm going to give you clear directions. I'm going to give you the tools. If I give you clear directions and the tools and you fuck up, that's on you. But if I'm not giving you clear direction, not giving you the proper tools, that's on me. And outside of exactly what you were saying, there are people that say, do this, but say, here, build the fucking pyramid with Legos and have fun. Build the actual fucking pyramid of Khufu with fucking Legos now and have fun. And a lot of people just don't question it. It's the same fucking dogma that a lot of people stay with religion for. And I don't know if we've been, in lack of a better term, bred to just accept shit. because all the quote unquote heretics and free thinkers were killed out. Oh, you're not going to go along with everything we say, stone them. But that's one of the biggest pet peeves I have with anybody in leadership. Not that, okay, and you know what, you're right. It's about motivation, it's about versus dogging somebody, and it's also about saying, hey, I'm not going to ask you to do something that you're ill-equipped for. I'm not going to ask you to do something that is strenuous to the point where if you like, I've literally had jobs where people say, I'm going to go into leadership so I can get off of these phones.
Yeah, don't trust anybody that seeks out leadership positions, seeks out seniority. Like those are like, um, I was the last promotion that I got, I was hesitant to take because it would change the entire dynamic of my job.
Well,
Like,
I
so
hate to interrupt you, but it was a truism that I said that I probably stole from somebody. Those who seek power don't deserve it, and those who deserve power don't seek it.
yes, I have heard that before. And I I seek all the power in the world. So now we're fucked.
Oh, but go ahead, go ahead. I didn't want to interrupt you, but that just it's a point that comes up. You see it all the time. Well, I want to get this with power of authority. Why? What have you done? What are you going to do with it?
Um, yeah, it's actually funny because me and Shadow Heathens had a was it Shadow Heathens? I think it was Shadow Heathens. Yeah, well, Shadow Heathens is in the room, but I think I was actually talking to Demonetized Prof at the time, but we're talking about something that was related to this yesterday, and um, yeah, it was a good conversation. Trying to remember what the fucking point. I made a really good point yesterday, and all you have to do is watch my 4 hour hangout, and you'll find it.
So let's finish this video, and then we got what, a minute left of it. Let's finish this video, and then we can take it off. All right, cool. Let's go.
It's a big club. You ain't in it. You and I are not in the big club. By the way, it's the same big club that used to beat you over the head all day. Tell you what to all day long, beating you over the head in their media, telling you what to eat, what to think, what to buy. The table is tilted, folks. The game is real. It seems to know. But it seems to be good, honest, hardworking good, honest, hardworking people continue. These people of honest means continue to elect these rich cocksuckers who don't give a fuck about them. They don't give a fuck about you. They don't give a fuck about you. They don't care about you at all. At all. At all. Nobody seems to notice. Nobody seems to. That's what the owners count on. The fact that America's been probably remain willfully ignorant of the big red, white, and blue dick that's being jammed up their assholes every day. Because the owners of this country know the truth. It's called the American dream. You have to be asleep to believe it.
So that actually goes back to what you're saying. And let me just stop for a second. What you're saying about people are just
say what you want about America.
Oh shit.
Some dumbass motherfuckers floating around this country. Dumbass.
Let's close that. Okay. Good. That actually goes back to what you were saying about how people are willfully ignorant.
Yeah, pretty much.
So it's just one of those things where it's just like, fuck, at least wake up and complain about the shit. Maybe complain about the shit the right person can actually take their free time and be motivated about it. I know I ran in a rave on my channel just the other day, and just in like my wheelhouse is video games and pop culture. That's where I do a lot of absorbing on my media, and it's just like with video games. Like there, I remember when we used to play video games and we didn't have DLC. You gotta finish complete game, and you didn't have to pay extra for the shit. And again, I don't want to say it's fucking. I want to say people are maliciously doing shit. That's I don't want to just say that, but it's just like people are doing shit out of greed, out of just sheer. I want to fuck you, pay me, and not even I want to fuck you over. Just like fuck whatever you thought I'm most important, pay me, and people are just okay with it.
Yeah, it's like I said, there's that the most of the issues here, in my opinion, just come down to complacency that we have. Um, that I think that they're so at the end of the day, um, we're just lazy. People are lazy. People are incredibly lazy, man. Like that's the only way I can really describe it is that if there is an easy way, we will find it, and it's going to be done to our own, our own like detriment. And you see this with I mean, tracing this back to things like the examples like fast food, obesity, things like that. And it's not every, like you can't blame people for this because this is just how society operates. Like every single thing that we do, every single innovation that we have as a species, as a culture, as it is done for the sole purpose of making our lives easier. How can we really complain about that? I mean, that's the thing. Is like people sit there and they talk about things like it's like, oh well, the obesity rate's much higher than it is today than it was, 50, 60 years ago. It's like, yeah, but fuck man, so much easier and cheaper food has gotten. Like, no wonder it is. Like it's gotten this way. I mean, if I go back even further, man, yeah, we're a lot fatter than we were back in the 14 and 1500s. But hey, at least most people get a fucking can eat 3 meals a day now. So is that really you know? Are we saying that we want to go back to those old systems? I mean, everything that we have in place is true. We moved towards a position where we're trying to just make things easier for us. You know, and take a look at what are the big innovations that are going on right now? Self-driving cars, like it's gone to the point that, like, driving itself is a fucking luxury that you don't think living 20 miles from the nearest town, you don't have to fucking pack up the family and kids and get ready for a 3-day fucking journey by carriage. You go and fucking drive that. People drive 20 miles to go fucking, pick up Chinese food from a restaurant that, like, I don't know, like it's fucked up. But I mean, like, cars are a luxury as it is. How can we make them even fucking better? Let's, what really bothers me about having this great mode of transportation? Yeah, the fact that I actually have to do shit. Let's turn into a self-driving car. I mean, it's just, but this is the path that we go, is that we're always looking for things that are going to make lives easier. And then we bitch about how easy life is. The consequences of this.
Okay, so let me ask you this. And this goes to the point that you were actually saying. Did you ever, who Dark Matter 2525 is, right?
Yeah.
You ever watch his Power Corrupt series?
No, I am actually, outside of like a very few people, I'm a very piss poor consumer of YouTube content.
Okay, so episode 7 makes the exact same points that you were actually making.
Oh, he must be a smart guy then.
You know what? And I would try to do a hangout about this, and I couldn't get the logistics of it right. If you actually look at some of his newest content, especially the Power Corrupt series, oh my fucking god, it's just like it's interesting to say the least, and the portrayal of Yahweh Jehovah as some picked on, rich, entitled little kid that is showing off just to piss daddy off. Yeah, that's it's if you actually believed in the God of the Bible, you can see how that would fit. As some pissed off, entitled little spoiled brat of a kid who has daddy issues. I would encourage you to watch that series. It's fun. It's hilarious.
Yeah,
but
I might check it out.
but I'm actually about to get off. It is almost fucking midnight here, and I'm gonna actually head off to bed. Oh God. Thanks, man, for showing up for the hangout. It was fun dissecting it with you. We're gonna do to something else. All right.
Yeah, no problem.
All right. Add me on PSN.
Don't I already have you on that?
I don't know who the fuck is my. The controller is too far away. All right, but I'm going to end the broadcast. And man, Socka, if you want to have a hangout, I will be on a bring your own hangout topic. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, bring your own topic.
Yeah,
BYOT.
I'll be on one soon if I can stay woke past 9 o'clock.
Yeah. Sorry I start them so late. After the kids go to bed here on the West Coast.
See, and that's the thing. I actually get up at 5 Central.
Yo, shit. Yeah, that's not good.
All right, man. Peace. Thanks.
No problem, man. Have a good one.